everyone, it's Michele from Scrap Secrets and welcome to episode 2 of Craft and Chat. Today we're going to be making this treat shop card, and there are a lot of steps to this. I did a lot of the die cutting off camera before I even started this. The first thing that I did was I took the Housebuilder base and cut it out. And then in the Treat Shop HoneyBee add-on dies, there is a die for the double doors, kind of like the sliding doors at grocery stores. And I cut that out and cut out 2 front windows. And from that, I also wanted to add shiplap onto the front of it. So this is the HoneyBee shiplap stencil, and you're going to see me do it on the front and the back of the card. I actually cut the card base, the Housebuilder card base, 3 times from white cardstock. And 2 of the times I'm going to be using antique linen distress oxide and using the shiplap stencil just to kind of give it a little bit of texture. So that's what I'm doing right now. And I did cut out the windows and the door opening from one of the card bases. And then the other ones, I actually cut the windows out again and the door, and I made a black frame around the windows and the door just to give it a little bit more interest because I thought the front was just a little bit plain. So you see that I've done the shiplap on the front and the back. You can barely see it in the finished card, but it does give a little bit of texture. Now I'm taking the back piece, the last piece that I did, the one that doesn't have the cutouts, but it has the shiplap on the one side, and I'm taping a Tim Holtz stencil down. Now this stencil is a Stampers Anonymous Woodgrain one, and I'm using some Distress ink and some Distress oxide to ink up the stencil. So the first one I'm going to do is use Distress ink in tea dye. And then later on I go in with some Distress oxide in Vintage Photo. And I'm just going to do like a wooden counter. I wanted it to look like when you open the inside that you were actually in the shop. So I actually cut another piece. I cut the card base 4 times actually because I made a mistake one time. I cut off the very top piece of it and made a countertop from that. So I'm going to be using the tea dye Distress ink to ink this up. But then later on I go in with the Vintage Photo Distress oxide and add some dark areas to that. Then I also am going to go back in with the Vintage Photo and go over some of the white pieces. And I think that's later on because it kind of looks a little plain. It doesn't really look like wood grain should because the background is too white. Actually, I think I'd go in with tea dye, but we'll go back over that. Now I'm just going over with some Distress Oxide Vintage Photo. So while I'm doing this and I'm just getting ready to do some ink blending because it does take a little while, I just wanted to talk to you guys about some stuff that's going on. There is going to be a 10-minute card challenge from Courtney Krieber I'm participating in. There's going to be a YouTube hop. So look for that coming up soon. I believe that is the first week of March that we're going to do that. I did my card already. So now let's get back to the card real quick, and then I'll start talking about that the hop a little bit more. This is a stencil from HoneyBee Stamps, and it is the stencil that goes along with the Housebuilder. So there's one for the Housebuilder, and then there's one for the Treat Shop. And it makes a nice addition if you don't want to use the dies for everything. And I thought that I was going to use 2 different colors here, but I just decided to go with the one color of Distress Oxide. And that color, I was going to do Picked Raspberry, but I didn't do that. I actually am just going to use Seedless Preserves, which is like a pinky purple. So back to the hop, I cut out 2 of these pieces and I'm actually going to stencil those twice. So you'll see me do this one and then the one on the back because I'm going to attach the card together a little bit differently than I have in the past. So let's get back to the hop a little bit. There are going to be 10 participants and everybody had to make a card in 10 minutes or less. I feel like I am the slowest card maker ever. I did one card and I got nowhere in about 10 minutes. I actually had to stop and start a new card because I thought I could mask, I I had already done a little bit of die cutting, but I thought I could mask, I could ink blend. Yeah, right. In 10 minutes, you can't do that unless you work super, super quickly, which I did not. So I had to start over and I had to do a new card. But I think that I really like the way the card came out. It's definitely different than my normal style. So I can't wait for you guys to see that. So that's a couple more weeks from now. Back to the card, here I am just ink blending a little bit more. The stencil shifted in this one because I didn't have it taped down as well. I did not have any washi tape on my desk, but it came out fine. It actually is the piece that went in the front. I didn't want it to actually go in the front, but it was actually when I glued things together, I wasn't really thinking, and it was the piece that went in the front. Going to clean off my desk because I'm getting really, really good at remembering to do that. Now this is the connector piece, and I'm just going to fold it. There's a score line in the middle, and I'm just going to fold it. I'm going to put the inside counter together, and this is where I realized that it doesn't look right because there's too much white in there. I'm going to go back in with the antique linen that I used to do the shiplap and fill in those white spots. It's a very, very light color, but it takes the edge of the white away. The white was way too stark, and as you can kind of see here, it makes it look more like wood grain. So I was glad that I went back in and did that last step. I will take the ATG gun and put tape on the back of the counter piece, the actual countertop. I wanted to give it a little bit of dimension so that it would look like the countertop that the glass was sitting on. And you'll see what I mean in a minute. I actually cut out a bunch of pieces. So I did a lot of die cutting for this, inking. There was a multi-step card. I want to clean off my desk now because I had a bunch of stuff going on. Now this is all stuff that I die cut and I put into my MISTI. I cut out some pieces in black cardstock and I did that in my Stamp Perfect. And in my MISTI, I stamped out what was going in the windows, a wedding cake and a regular cake. And then I also stamped out the cupcakes and the jars that were going inside. Now the easiest way to do these, because these were teeny tiny pieces, I probably should have used washi tape to tape the backs together, but it didn't matter. Tape the little pieces into the cutout places. I placed them back into their cutouts. And then I used the Gina K amalgam ink to ink up my stamps and then stamp the pieces. The cake that you're going to see in one of the windows had to be done in two pieces because there is a stand and a cake, and if you put them together, try to stamp them together, there's not enough room between them. There's going to be too much room between them. You have to stamp that in two different pieces. Now I'm just taking out the pieces and I realized that I did a terrible job of stamping. It's so hard to do this when you're trying to rush. If I do this card again, I am going to take my time more and I won't film myself. It was very, very difficult. I gave myself a big challenge. So for the black pieces, I'm going to be using Distress ink and Picket Fence to ink up the images. The first one is the sign that's going to say bakery, and then the second one is another sign. It's those boards that tell you the daily specials. The sign is actually I'm going to stamp it a second time and it's going to say bakery. And then the board is going to say today's specials. And I did write in there later on what the day's specials were. Just going back and stamping those sentiments or the words into the two images. They look like they're really white on camera now that I'm looking at it. They didn't come out so bright white in person. I wish that I had unicorn white pigment ink, something like that, but the Distress ink and Picket Fence is really all of the white ink that I have for right now, and I probably will get the unicorn white pigment ink because a lot of people say that it stamps really well. This is the kind of fun part where I'm trying to assemble things, and I really didn't know what order to do things in. I was kind of back and forth trying to figure out what I wanted to do first, what I needed to do first. I'm laying out the interior piece. So this is the back interior piece, the very, very back and the interior piece. Then I have the panels that are going to be glued together. So this is the front panel and then the inside panel. I am gluing down the black outline for the doors. I also cut a piece of black cardstock out. In the doors, there's actually a score line in the middle of it, and I wanted to make it look like they were actual doors. So I just took a piece of black cardstock that I had lying around, cut a really small strip of it out to place in the middle, and glued that down to the vellum. I cut out vellum for the windows and the door. Even though there's white behind it, I wanted it to have a little frosty look, almost like glass. I know that I could have used glossy accents or something like that over top of it, but it was just easier to, with all the other stuff that I had going on, it was just easier to cut it out of vellum and then glue that to the front of the piece where they are actually stamped on the cakes. I'm gluing on the rest of the windows, and this really wasn't much of a chat. It was more of me just telling you guys what I'm doing besides the Courtney hop. There is also going to be a event that Courtney is hosting in Albany in May, which I know that a lot of people are starting to sign up for, which I'm super excited about. I booked my hotel room the other day. I just have to buy my ticket. It's going to be a 3-day event where people can come and craft. I'm super excited about it because I feel like I talked to so many of these people online, and we're actually going to get to meet each other in person and do some crafting and learn some new techniques. So I'm super excited about that. Now I'm just going to be doing some Copic coloring. It's very, very basic because these images are so tiny. I'm using my C00, C1, C3, and C5 markers for the gray portions. I am using a bunch of purples and pinks for the cakes, and there really wasn't a lot of markers that I used. I tried to stay with a very, very close to pink purple color scheme as possible. The cake is an ombre look. I used 3 different markers. I used RV66, RV19, and then I also believe I used RV17 when I did that cake. I apologize that I don't have the caps on the screen. I was just trying to do these as fast as possible because this took what felt like forever. It took me so long to do the die cuts before this. I'm just going to color in the cupcakes. I used E34 for the base of the cupcakes, and I know you guys can't really see this. So let's get back to talking about some crafty stuff. So besides the retreat, there are some other things that are going on. I am going to start to put together how I'm doing on my crafty goals for the year. Since January is done, now February is more than half over. I'm going to evaluate how I've been doing. I know that I have not reached all of my goals for every single month. There were certain things that I said that I wanted to do. Every month I wanted to come up with a new design. Kind of did that this month with the girls. We made their 100 days of school shirts, but that doesn't really count because I needed to go towards something that I can sell. So I definitely have to get on that, but there are definitely things that I have accomplished, like doing 1 video a week. I think that I've been very, very good with that. I do 1 or more videos per week, and not just haul videos because they have to be actual crafting videos. So I think I've been pretty good at that, and participating in hops and things like that, challenges. I'm pretty sure that I'm good on that, but I just want to go back and just evaluate after 2 months and see how I'm doing, if I need to adjust my goals any, or if, some things may not be realistic with the time frame that I've given myself. So I'll look and see how I'm doing with that. So if you guys have done crafty goals for 2020, how have you done with them? Are you on track? Are you lagging behind? Are you doing really well? I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle. So let me know down in the comments below if you have done 2020 goals and how you're doing with them. If you've reached your goals, or if you're still struggling to do some of them. Year's not over yet, so you still have plenty of time to get back on track, and that's what my plan is. I'm actually going to write out a to-do list of items that I have to do each and every month and then check it off, because if I don't have a to-do list, I tend not to do things. I am just gluing the cupcakes that I cut out into jars. Now I know that jar is supposed to be like a flour or sugar jar. I thought that it could also be used as one of the glass jars that are often seen in bakeries or even people have in their homes to keep baked goods in. So I used the flour jar and turned it into that, and then the other one is the actual jar that's how you're supposed to use it, and I put 2 cupcakes in that. I did have to trim them down a little bit so they would fit in the card, or fit in the glass container. I'm just gluing the glass containers to the countertop right now. I wish I had a cash register or something like that, but I don't, so this was as much as was getting done. Then I'm going to glue the bakery sign down as well as the today's special sign. There's also a table with an umbrella and chairs in this set. I could have easily put them on the inside. There were already too many die cuts for me. This was a die cut intense project, and I think I gave up after a while because my Cuttlebug sits on the floor and I have to actually get down and then get back up afterwards if I need to get something, and that's becoming harder and harder for me. Now the next thing that I wanted to do was I wanted to glue the awnings together. So this is how I went ahead and did it. I used my ATG gun and put glue on the back of it. Then I lined it up to the top of one of the awnings. Then I took ATG glue, put it on the other side, flattened it out, and then put the other awning back to back. Now, when you open the card, you're not really going to be able to see the hinge. If you didn't do that, or if you don't put it under the roof, you can, when you open the card, you're going to be able to see the hinge inside. Not a big deal, especially if you do them the same color, but I just like to hide it underneath my awning. Now I'm just going to put glue on the back of the awning and then put my back piece on. I'll do the same thing and put my front piece on, and then I really screw up. I went to go put the interior piece on and put glue on the wrong side of it. This is after I glued the door pieces into place and the window pieces into place. So I actually had to cut out a bunch of footage because I had to take a while to take all of the ATG tape off of it. That's the one great thing about using ATG versus using a liquid glue. It would never have come off if I used the liquid glue, but with ATG you can actually roll your fingers over it and the glue comes up and becomes a little sticky mess. You'll see me do that in a minute. Now I'm just going to glue the windows down. There's the solid pieces, and then I figure out how to, I actually glue around the piece to keep the vellum piece in place. And you'll see me do that for the windows and for the doors, and they were kind of sticking together. So there's not much I have to do a crafty chat about. I know this video was just long and I just wanted to say hi and talk to you guys. And I know there are a few new people to my channel. I appreciate you guys subscribing and welcome. I hope that you enjoy these type of videos. If there is another project that you want to see in a video coming up, please feel free to let me know. I love getting ideas from viewers. If there's a chat that you want to talk about, and here you go. Here's me putting glue on the completely wrong side of it, because if I did this, I glued it to the inside of my scene and you wouldn't be able to see the counter. And this is when I realized that I put the glue on the wrong side. So I will start to take the glue off of it, and then I turn the camera off, and then we'll come back once I have finished all of this, because I didn't think you guys wanted to sit there and watch it. Now I am going to put ATG on the correct side, and if you see, I am making sure that everything is right. So there is the final card, and then the inside, and I'm just taking some of the glue off of it. I'm going to take my stand eraser and erase some of the things on there. There's some extra glue places, and take that off. I actually do write with my Signo Uniball white pen cupcakes and cookies on the Today's Special board. If I had stamps that were teeny tiny like that, I would have put the stamps on there as well, but I didn't have anything. I'm just going back and taking off some of the Distress Oxide. And just taking off some of the mistakes, and there were fingerprints inside because I can't do anything without getting fingerprints. And then the piece in between the door moves. I kind of made a little bit of a mess. There looks like there's a little bit of stuff on the vellum. If I do this in the future, I will be much more careful about cleaning my hands off and making sure that nothing gets underneath the vellum. So I'm cleaning off the vellum just a little bit. And there I'm going to go write cookies and cupcakes on there. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I know this is rather long and it was a rather intricate, heavy on die cuts card to put together, but I love the way shaped cards look. So thank you guys so much for sticking through this video. Have a great day, and I will see you guys again real soon in the next video. Bye!